everybody. I hope everyone is well and adjusting to everything that's going on. This next video I'm loading up for you is on pivot tables. In chapter 5, there's some good videos in there on how to create pivot tables using recommended pivot tables from the options. I wanted to give you some information or put a video down on how to manually create a pivot table, and then also how to create a pivot chart to get even further information on that. So we're going to use the same worksheet that we used for our subtotal and sort video, the Canadian discount shoes, and I wanted to show you how to go about using the pivot table. The nice thing with the pivot tables is it gives you a lot more flexibility and control and information than just using a sort and subtotal, as you'll see as we go through that. So once again, we'll go through, we'll highlight all our information, and we'll go up to the top here and select Insert. And again, watch the videos using the recommended pivot tables. I'm going to show you how to create one manually. So select Pivot Tables. And Excel always, by default, uses a new worksheet. I always recommend doing that. You don't want to try and cram a pivot table on the same worksheet that you have your data on. So select OK. And here's basically how it works. Think of a pivot table as going into a big grocery store. You got thousands of different items, and they're all organized into columns. You've got meat, you've got dairy and cheese, you've got bread, you've got vegetables and fruit, and so on and so forth. This is sort of the same thing with a pivot table. Regardless of all the data that we have, our headings are like the column headings in a grocery store. So we want to pull up just the items that we want to review. So for this example, we want to take a look at products, and we're interested to know, and now you can see here they've come up. We've got our comfy walking shoes, gliding, flip-flops, hiking boots, and so on. And we are interested in the total wholesale. Oops, yeah, sales for wholesale. And we want our total retail price. You just check that as well. Okay, and you can see here's our four quadrants. Our rows, here we've got our comfy shoes, and then our columns, we've got the sum of wholesales and the sum of retail. So we can see what we did in sales in each category, wholesale and retail. Now, if we wanted to drill down a little bit further, we wanted to take a look at men's and women's. We wanted to split that up and look at that. Okay, and you can see how that's now populated. Now they call this a pivot table because you can essentially do just that. For example, if I wanted to change the lookout, I could grab my men's and women's selection and drop it over my columns if I wanted to display it this way. So it gives you that flexibility that you wouldn't have using just a sum and sort. That doesn't look so great. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to pivot it back down to the rows selection. All right, and I'm going to close our field for a moment. We can make some adjustments here. First thing I want to do is I'd like to see these numbers that are appearing. I'd like to see those as currency. Okay, so I can just highlight in there. And when we want to pull that menu back up, we want to be in the whoops, where are we here? Analyze. Whoops, we want to be on the Design tab, and we'll pull up our chart. Where is my field here? Oh, there we are, field list. Lost track of it. There we go. So anytime you lose this field list, you just need to be on the Analyze tab and find it where it says field list, and I'll pull this back up. So what I can do now is I can find my wholesale tab here, and I can click on the little arrow and then just select value field settings. So let's select that, and what we want to do here is we want to format the number. So select that, and we want to show it as currency. We'll select OK, and OK. And now you can see this entire column. It's now in currency format. So we're going to do the same thing with the retail sales. We'll go down to the tab, retail sales, hit the drop-down menu, select value field settings again, number format. We want to select currency, and we'll select OK, and OK. Now let's close this for a moment, and we've got everything here. The other thing you could do, another nice feature with the pivot table, is you can see we've got these little minus signs here. Okay, because we've got our comfy shoes, men and women. If I just wanted to see just the actual categories, I can collapse those other options. Oops. And there we go. So just by collapsing those options, now I'm just looking at the total categories of product and the wholesale and retail sales that we did. So I'm just going to expand those for now so we can see everything. And the important thing to understand as well with pivot tables is the flexibility that it gives you. It's really quite something. So I could pull that field up, for example, if I wanted to, and if I wanted to get even more information, for example, if I wanted to see colors, you know, I could put that in there as well, and that'll even give me further information. And anything that we have, just by unselecting it, we can get rid of it as well. Okay, now I can change my headings here, my labels. For example, I can just call this product description. Okay, and hit tab, and that makes that a little bit more meaningful. Okay. The other nice feature with the pivot table, now we did quite a bit of work on charts. We actually have pivot charts that are quite flexible and offer us a lot of flexibility in terms of filtering our information. So again, up in Analyze, we have pivot chart. We can select that, and let's just use this clustered column chart. We used that in the lab quite a bit, so we'll just use that. I'm going to expand this just to make it a little bit easier to see. Okay. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit too far with that. All right, so let's just have a quick overview of what this chart actually is showing us. On this side, we've got going up, we have our total sales here, $500 up to $3,500. And we have our categories: comfy walking shoes, Clyde running shoes, lazy flip-flops, rugged boots, seriously tall boots. And we've got, of course, the men's and women's identified by M and W, so we can see our total categories in men and women for this particular type of shoe. Now these colored bars here, just take a look at the legend on the right-hand side. So the bars that are in the burgundy color is the sum of the total wholesale business that we did. The gold bar represents our total retail sales. So in each category, we can see what we've done in both men's and women in wholesale and retail. Now down here at the bottom corner, we've got these little filter buttons, which allow us, again, you know, this chart that we're looking at right now isn't too busy. We don't have a lot of information in there. You know, if you had a lot of data, you know, and there's a lot of stuff crammed into one chart, it makes it very difficult, especially for presentations and looking at charts. So you do have the flexibility of filtering some of that, and I'm going to show you how we do that. So we can just select a little drop-down arrow, and let's say we just wanted to take a look at men's only. Just unselect the women's, we'll select men's. Now when I click OK, you can watch what happens to the chart automatically. Okay, there we go. So you can see the women's disappeared, and for each category, we're just looking at men's results. We can see the comfy walking shoes, the Glide, the flip-flops, and the hiking boots, both in the wholesale and the retail sales. I can go back again if I just want to look at the women's, select OK. And now we're seeing the same categories again, but this time we're just focusing and looking on the women's products. So one last thing that I'd like to show you. Let's go to OK. I'm going to just minimize this chart if I can. All right, and just kind of close this for a minute. Just shrink this out of our way for a moment. And what I want to do here is I want to go back. I want to add the color category in here, just to show you how that affects the chart. So go back to our field list, and we will select color this time. We'll add that component, just to show you and illustrate the flexibility that you can have using these pivot tables and pivot charts. We'll open this back up. expand on it. All right, so now you can see we've got a lot of sort of clustered information in here. So let's just filter on that and let's just look at men's for a moment. There, that's a little bit easier to see. But you can see where this could be very helpful when you're trying to analyze your business. So in comfy walking shoes, in men's, we can see the total wholesale and retail prices, both in the black and the brown color. Same thing for each category, okay? And it can really help try to make decisions on what color of product or style that you want to carry, and perhaps some that aren't selling well that you don't want to carry. And we can do the same thing with women's shoes. We'll deselect men. All right, so now again in the women's we can see all the colors of the various categories. We can see for the comfy walking shoes we've also got, in addition to black and brown, we've got navy and taupe. We can go even one step further in our filtering, and if I just wanted to see, you know, black, I could do that. Okay, and that's just going to show us the results in black, or whatever color you want to look at. So again, using pivot tables is a very unique and amazing feature in Excel, and I would argue it's probably the most used feature of anything. I know that I constantly use it, and especially if you're doing any sort of data analysis, you'll be using pivot tables, you know, quite extensively. Okay, so that's it for this video on pivot tables. Again, I hope you're doing well. Please, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. I'll give you my commitment to respond to your questions as soon as I can. If something happens and you don't happen to hear from me within 24 hours, please don't be a stranger. Reach out and give me another shout, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So until then, take care, and we'll see you next time.